In this video on two blank text conclusions, we're going to be dealing with something that's tricky, something that in fact goes against one of the cornerstones of our text completion strategy, the idea of coming up with our own words. Sometimes, simply stated, the blanks can be vague, or the blanks can be in relation to one another. That is, it could be positive, this could be negative, this could be positive. And so in that sense, it is vague. And when we go to the answer choices, we may have a couple of positives, a couple of negatives, or maybe a couple of negatives, a couple of positives. So how do you figure out what the answer really is? And you can come up with your words, but then you're going to probably take a little bit longer trying to find out if those words match when you can simply look for words amongst the answer choices that are opposites to one another. So let's look at the sentence. How do we even know it's an opposite? Well, ironically, the opposite of what you would think. For someone whose novels were populated with characters typically marked by a blank. So someone writes a book, they have characters who are one way. This author himself is the other way. Do we know anything more than that? Is this sentence completely vague? Well, no. The author himself made tabloid news with exploits. So we know that the author himself is up to some bad stuff because tabloid news exploits suggests that he is doing some negative behavior. Therefore, second blank has to be negative. First blank has to be positive. So we can now go to the first blank and look for words that are positive. Thoroughgoing debonaireness. To be debonair is to be genteel, well-mannered. Sensitivity, probing, very sensitive person, that works as well. Those are both positive words. Grudging restraint. So if you're restraint, you hold back, do so grudgingly, you don't really want to. So this is a mixed meaning. So that one we can at least get rid of. In the second blank, we want to look for those words that are negative. Or do we? If you look here at the very end, it says that suggested not even a blank. So we take a negative, and this goes back to our one blank text completion, and we negate the negative because not even. So even though we have ironically at the beginning, you think that the two blanks are in opposition, they are, but the not even at the end makes this double negative, so we're actually looking for a positive. So now we can go through here to the second blank and look for that positive. Well, we see civility. If someone's civility, they're kind, they treat people with respect, and normalcy is good, a semblance of normalcy. Okay, what about wherewithal? Wherewithal is money. So not even a trace of money. Doesn't really make sense in the context, so we can get rid of that. Now that we're left with two. Again, they're both positive, but we have to make sure that they're similar words. They're not simply, oh, they're both positive, therefore they're the answer. We'd have multiple answers here. So we can't rely on simply the connotation, positive or negative, but we have to look at the actual words. Debonaireness. What word is similar to debonair? Is either civility or normalcy? And the answer is, well, if you're well-mannered, genteel, you're civil. So these two words match up. Therefore, that's our answer. However, many people will pick probing sensitivity. Why? Well, if you're sensitive, you could be normal. So this guy didn't even have a semblance of normalcy, but if you're sensitive, you're probably normal. But you see how sensitive and normal aren't synonyms, therefore they can't be answers. And the GRE is very literal like that. It wants us to come up with those words that are correct synonyms. So you know that semblance of normalcy doesn't work. But what about modicum of civility? Well, if you're sensitive, you're probing sensitivity, so you're very sensitive, does that mean you have civility intact? Well, yeah, probably. If you're sensitive, you're likely to be civil to other people. But are they the same thing? Think of a sensitive musician or poet. Does that mean by definition they are civil and well-mannered and genteel, kind of like a James Bond character? Well, no, those are different things, both positives but different. And therefore neither A or B right here matches up with probing sensitivity. So probing sensitivity can't be the answer. Therefore, again, the only ones that could work could be thorough debonaireness and modicum of civility. By the way, modicum means trace. So he didn't even have a trace of civility. He was such a lewd, crude guy, though his novels were populated with really well-mannered gentlemen. And here is our final two blank text completion. You can see that this is definitely one of the more difficult ones. And the only reason we're plugging in words is because we found out, one, the relationship between the blanks, positive-negative relationship, the second blank being negated, therefore a positive-positive relationship, and that's how we came up with the answer.